Well, Patty, I think you've just coached two of the most ingenious of the many ingenious things that Balanchine ever choreographed. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I love it.
And
it's
they
very
are
special.
two of the highlights of the ballet Who Cares?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's much doubt about that.
It's a treasure of a ballet, a pas de deux to dance. I feel like so it was such a gift to be able to get the chance to be working with Mr. B on that.
Yeah.
On that pas de deux. I've never stopped loving it, or even teaching people it, because I know how it meant a lot to me just to do it. It was so, the music is so great, and the atmosphere that it creates, and just seeing Balanchine in my mind, doing it with me. Yeah. It'll always be there.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. I just thought I'd read a couple of quotes. Balanchine's fascinating rhythm, dazzlingly danced by McBride, is a perfect gem of musicality and invention, marvelous in its starts, stops, and emotional swirls. That was in the New York Times, and I think is much deserved. And about the other dance, here was the world of long cigarette holders and penthouses with white rugs, symbolized by McBride offering to D'Amboise all the poignancy of a woman who dares not speak lest she weep.
Oh, how beautiful that is.
I think so too.
I don't think I ever read that.
Well,
it's new to me.
You probably don't read reviews.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, well, when you were dancing.
Very long.
So why don't we talk about how, in fact, Balanchine did create this role and you learned it from him?
Yes. Well, I remember...
First of all, sorry,
yes.
Not you probably going to say this, but if you didn't, you said you started off by his playing the piano?
Yes, I think he's like sat down and played the piano, and of course Gordon Belsner was there with him.
Yeah.
And he worked very closely with Mr. B.
Yeah.
And I remember asking him to make sure he wrote notes on the score, because Mr. Balanchine worked so fast, and it was done before you knew it.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that I would remember, take it from here. So I had him write those little notes on the score.
Oh, I'm sure.
With so much of Who Cares is, Mr. Balanchine, he never really spoke that much or explained. There were a few things that were really important to him.
Yeah.
Like in all of his ballets that you would dance. But he showed so beautifully. I mean, he was such a master, and the way he moved, I just tried to imitate him, to follow the way he was moving.
Yeah.
In especially fascinating rhythm, because he just took off. He danced for me.
Oh,
I danced for him. He rolled his sleeves up.
Oh, yeah.
And he just, did it, and it was done.
Yeah.
And there were very tricky rhythms.
Definitely.
That after the rehearsal was over, I kind of went over the rhythms just to get that ingrained in my body, and it was kind of like a tap dance. It was like da 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 da, up, da da da. Oh, it had all that such a great rhythms, and I just wanted to guard it, because usually when he made something, he made it so fast.
Yes,
and you be the curator of it after he'd leave you, because it was a 45-minute ballet. He was choreographing the full Who Cares when the premiere.
Yeah.
So he was very busy, rehearsing.
Other
he
people.
had so much to do.
Yeah.
I don't know where I came. I don't know when he started. Do you know what he started on? I can't remember if he started with the corps first.
Oh, I don't know.
Or if he started with the principals.
I wasn't around, so I don't know that I ever asked that question.
Yeah, but it was Jacques d'Amboise, of course, the only man who partnered Karin von Arldingen and Marnie Morris and myself were the three.
Yes.
And they sort of said it was like the three muses in Apollo.
Right, because Jacques had danced Apollo many times. So.
But there was a sort of pose in the finale, if you really looked at it, where he was on the knee and we do arabesque.
Oh, yes,
something
right.
that was like something like that.
Those in the know.
Yeah.
Knew.
But they were all so different. The choreography was very different from each. It has the personality of each of the ballerinas.
Oh, absolutely.
At the time, I think he captured all of us
And
you know, he always made things that would suit you to a glove, you know.
Yeah.
He instinctively knew. Or maybe it's how he wanted to show you to his audience.
well,
You
partly
know,
that, I'm
or
sure.
he kind of molded you.
He wanted
with-
the ballerinas to look good, right?
Yes, but there was so much trust because he just trusted you. He'd show you and he'd trust you to, you know, work it out, or he was, you know, and he showed it so beautifully. I will never forget the way he did the walk back. How he did that
Oh,
with his
yeah.
arms, you know, or just,
Yes.
you know, and just how he moved was so amazing. And he would partner me. You know, he worked down all the partnerings, and then Jacques would,
Yeah,
you know, learn.
yeah.
I mean, do it. And
and
the
the partnering
process
is
is
tricky,
fast.
right?
well, just maybe two things in the pas de deux.
Well, surely you didn't jump on his back, Balanchine's back, or
No.
did you?
I don't know. I think he wanted a specific way of doing that.
Oh, no,
I think he told me, just do like a jeté. He said,
Uh-huh.
run, step, and up. And just it worked. Whatever happened, it just worked. But
Yeah.
it was a little tricky because he wanted you to start far away from, he wanted
Yes,
to step.
I see that. They're running from all sides, but a distance.
Yeah, and
Distance.
that's a little tricky because I've done it with many different partners throughout my career. I probably did it 20 years. And
Really?
over that 20 years, I got to do, because I did it very young, and then it was the last thing I danced
Yeah.
in 1989, I think
Well,
it was.
some people do that. They manage to dance
So,
the ballet for many years, and you wonder sometimes how they keep it fresh and stuff like that. But one of the things Balanchine dancers say is there's so much in it that you keep discovering new things.
and that's true,
Yeah.
exactly. And it was very different from every partner, because
Well-
the chemistry is always so different from one partner to the next. But the musicality is what keeps it really strong.
Well, you
That
said
musicality.
that the rhythm is the structure. We're talking about fascinating rhythm, by the way. We're
Oh,
not
yes.
talking about as much about the man I love just at the moment. But you said sort of the rhythm is the structure, or the rhythm makes the structure.
It does, and for me, you're at one with the music, and it gives you so much energy using the intended musicality that Balanchine gave
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Well, you need energy for that,
yeah,
right?
you do.
It's so short, but my God, it's packed.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's not really technically that hard at all, but it's the phrasing and the
Sure.
movement
Yeah.
and
And
the
the
rhythms.
the mood and so on. I know you said in the middle part where he kind of, I can't do it myself, but it gets a little bit sexy. You said, but Balanchine really was amazing when he demonstrated that.
he was so great. I interpreted that a little different actually. It was like he kept moving back, and I kind of stayed more static in that.
Yeah.
Just the shoulders move. But I always think that it's like three different personalities. You know, you start and you're happy, and then the mood changes,
Yeah.
and you feel like a different person. You know, and the slinky when it comes slinky, and the music changes. It's, you know, always usually is always a cue. The music is always a cue for
It
how
is.
you should
Yeah,
be in a ballet, or
Yeah.
what you want to.
maybe more so
So-
in this. I mean, it's always the case with Balanchine, the music, but maybe in this almost more than some others.
Yeah.
It creates the atmosphere.
But when you think it's for the audience's enjoyment, so
Yes.
you're really dancing for them and having a good time and enjoying yourself with the music, just being at one, being totally immersed in the
Yes,
music
and the music
and
is
the
so
joy.
dancey.
Yeah.
I mean, he made it.
It's a lot of fun.
He got the dancing out of it.
Yeah.
But
It was always a lot of fun to do it, and the audience the reaction was always so great.
right.
You know,
right.
because you do work hard, because it's more stamina than technique.
Really.
Yes,
That's
it's
interesting.
the stamina to push yourself at the end when you're tired.
Well, I did notice that today. I thought, my goodness, and I've
Yeah.
seen it many times, but it skims from the audience, at least my point of view. It's kind of, it doesn't have the
Punch.
kind of the weight that you gave it in this room.
The punch,
And if
yeah.
you didn't give it that, you wouldn't get the effect that you do get. But
it's like Balanchine, all his works, because I was very fortunate to have worked with him before Who Cares, so I was so used to the way he would work that I was ready for him to just go from the beginning.
Right.
And just, he did it, he could do a variation in 45 minutes and it was done.
I gather.
So you had to be, ready.
But then you said he
ready to
gave it
catch
to
what
you.
he
When it was for you, he kind of got out of the pictures?
Well, because he choreographed this, and we did our section, but he was very busy. I wasn't the only ballerina.
No.
He had to take care of Corin, and he had to take care of Marnie, and Jacques, of course, he relied a lot on, because he had to partner the three of us.
Right.
And they were totally different.
But I think,
different emotions or different kind of.
But it was also up to the individual, I'm quoting you, not quoting exactly, but the individual dancer to kind of mold the dance after he had sort of set it in his way. Not totally specifically always, but you said it was your dance.
He trusted you.
Yeah.
And I always had his vision in mind. Seeing him dance was like the best. It was like the best experience, and I just loved being in the room watching him at work too.
Yes.
And how he worked. I was always amazed what he came up with. I just treasured those moments.
Well, some of this choreography is so ingenious. Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
It really
is. It still is. And
Yeah.
I have the same excitement when I teach even students is so.
Oh, I could tell you really were into it, to say the least.
I love it. It's wonderful to pass it on.
Yeah, yes. When
'cause-
you do teach it, I suppose you start with the counts?
Well, I
Depends
show
on the
whole
age
thing.
of the
I do, because Alex had known this, so I didn't really have to show her, that. But I have to do and it's hard for the students to get the opening. I corrected Alex a few times. There's a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you do a 1, 2, 3, 4. That little step, it takes time to get it, the musicality of that.
I should think so. Some of them are just surprises.
Because it was so evident when Mr. Balanchine was choreographing it. It was so evident that he had that. And I was so used to working with him too. We had him teaching classes every day.
I know. I know.
But
you were in some
when
ways
you teach
prepared for some of the stuff, not specific steps, but a feeling or obviously a quickness. That's legendary.
But he just let me be me. He
Right,
didn't, I try to do that when I teach it. I don't want them to be like me at all. I want them to find themselves in it and just be the person that they are in it, like he gave me the freedom.
Yes. But you said something very interesting, since you were the very first and he gave it to you. The way you developed it became the text, so to speak.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah.
It was just like, you say, he'll, but I mean the rhythms are so,
But if he had given it to somebody else, they might have interpreted it quite differently.
Yeah.
Same steps.
But he showed all the rhythms.
Yeah.
And, he said arabesque, heel down, step. 1, heel down, step. And then it evolved, like that attitude turns out of that. He did 3 and he did walk, and he just said, do something. I
know occasionally he did say that. I think people are quite surprised. Also, as you show a couple of different kinds of arms. I mean, this business and this business.
Yeah, it could have been that, or probably I did this sometimes, and I could have felt that sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's so to minute.
Well, I know, but I mean, these days I think people are absolutely petrified to change a thing because he's not around to say, well, that was okay, or to say nothing. Basically, to say nothing.
If it's rhythmic, if the rhythm is there and it's exciting, probably I did that.
Yeah.
I know. I'd have to look at I should have studied the videos.
Oh, my dear, you know it backward and forward. You don't need to study the videos.
But I mean, because even I evolved over, since when I first did it to the one thing. You should really always grow in these roles, you should.
Certainly,
because you learn more about yourself and, you may feel a certain way, but the musicality should be always the same.
It sort of anchors it, right?
The musicality is what makes
Yeah.
the steps really special. And the movement, how you use the plie and
Yeah.
use the floor.
When did you kind of first understand that jazz could be part of classical ballet?
We were so used to Mr. Balanchine and pushing your hips forward and, you know, using your whole body. I didn't think it was anything.
Yeah,
It just seemed normal to
part
me.
of him, yeah.
I just watched him and I did it, and it was fun and it worked. And there was an extra thrust to it when you use your hips or you use your shoulders or use your whole body. That's what makes it interesting. So you're not always dancing,
Right.
you know, like straight front to the audience. And
Yeah, yes.
he liked to have you, you know, using your head, and he loved the shoulders and the head and moving and
Yeah.
using the energy.
Energy, I know,
Energy.
his middle name,
Yeah.
something like that. Well, he did at least 2 other ballets for you with a lot of jazz, Tarantella and Rubies.
Yes.
And-
So I already had that hit in the 60s. He did, you know, like even in Tarantella, which is a 2/2 classical, I was like
Yeah,
off, and there was a turn in, turn out. So you got used to using the hips and the turn in, turn out. It was an easy progression because we were so used to working with him. It didn't seem
Yes.
difficult. It just seemed
And-
like the most natural thing. Also, it's always the music. With Tarantella, again, it's
but that
always-
has such complicated rhythms, you don't
Music.
really realize it. And Rubies too.
Yeah, it's true. It's
And then we
true.
found out much later, I think, not later after these ballets, but that Barocco could be danced with jazzy accents.
Oh, there was some hip movement in that. I remember this one, hip forward, back, or this one, you know, out, in, hips forward. When you hold the girls and you come together.
I know.
It's all the thrust, but I had done that before even.
No, I know, but
when
I think
was very young, so it just says
it was something
part
to
of learning
discover in
Balanchine,
it.
Mr.
That, I
Balanchine.
mean, here was a classical ballet and to Bach and all that stuff, and what was this jazz doing there? But
He was so ahead of his time.
yes, I
He
know.
was just such a, I mean,
and
he
Apollo,
was so
of course.
extraordinary.
Yeah. If you can dance
know.
Stravinsky, I guess you can keep up with most any rhythm.
yeah, it's true. All of that, like Terpsichore solo, the yum bum bum, da one da 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 yum bum day.
Yeah.
And all of that is just such a joy to be a dancer and to do those movements. You know, what could be better? You
Well,
know,
I
it's
don't know what could
it's
be
such a
better, but
great-
you always
it's
look
such a
like
great-
it was joyous for you.
Yeah. Well, he once told me that he's done more ballets for different ballerinas, not always the same ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's done such master works on so many different types of ballerinas.
Right.
You know, and to see the depth of his work and how the generations who are learning them, you know, they're still interesting and relevant today. And they're still, if you haven't done Balanchine Ballet, if you hadn't worked with him or taken classes, it could be a little startling to do a Balanchine Ballet
Yes.
right away.
Yes.
You know, if you're not used to first of the speed, the musicality, the preciseness of the legs and feet. Mm-hmm. Your legs have to work very intelligently
Yes.
to make all those, you know, clear positions. But if you don't have the musicality, somehow the choreography is less. Like in Tarantella too, you have to be up over the one. You have to be ready. So I would say it's a ballet of the ones. Because it's up, 1, 2, you know, you have to be prepared for the accents.
Yes,
up
yes,
and over.
yes.
With your whole being, your whole body has to be ready for it. That's where the speed and his classes helped. You know, all those.
Yes.
Very
If they
fast
didn't
classes.
kill you. If they didn't kill you, they
No.
would help you.
But he always, you know, he knew what a woman could do on point. And that's so rare in a male choreographer. You know, he didn't have to experiment. He just knew. Mm-hmm. And he very rarely had to change anything for anybody, really. He did. But basically, what he made on you is the way it was in the end.
Yes.
And he could do it really fast, so he knew all of his dancers, and he knew their limitations.
Yes.
He told me that once. He said, I know the limitations of some of my dancers. But so it was such a gift. Anything he would choreograph on you was such a beautiful gift.
Well, on you, I should say, when you say on you, yes, but on you in particular, he...
Well, on all of us, you know,
Well,
just being
true,
in the
but-
room with him was so special.
Yeah,
you know,
but he choreographed an awful lot of beautiful ballets for you.
Yeah, I loved all of them. They were all amazing, just amazing. I'm the lucky one.
Ah, well,
Look
understood.
back on it. But it was he was such a quiet man too, and so humble that you could barely hear him. You
Yes,
know,
he didn't have to
never
raise his
yelled.
voice.
He never, it was like this. We just talk, he'd work,
Yeah,
he'd roll his sleeves up, and he'd get to work, and it was done. It was
Right.
done. And he always had such great trust in me or in all of his dancers.
right.
And
Did he ever mention Gershwin as a person? Because he did know Gershwin.
no, you know, Ira Gershwin, the family came to the premiere of Who Cares?
Oh, yes?
They were there. I met them,
Ira?
and
yeah.
that was very exciting.
Uh-huh.
It was very exciting. The family, the Gershwin, I believe. I hope my mind isn't.
Yeah,
But
yes.
that was a long time ago. But I remember speaking to them, and I think they were delighted to have this ballet. And
Well, Gershwin, I must say, straddled at least two worlds, the jazz and popular music.
yeah,
And Balanchine, too, do you remember he created or composed some popular music?
yes.
Do you remember that
Yes.
thing, As the World is Turning Fast? And with three core girls doing the singing?
Like, sometimes he'd sit and play the piano.
Yes.
You know, he'd do that. But because his musicianship really showed in the way. I mean, he has to be the most musical of any choreographer in the world, living or not living. You know, because you see the ballets and you understand the music from his choreography.
Yes.
And you usually remember Balanchine because it's so natural with the music. It fits so well.
Well, is there anything you would like to add about Who Cares? Or
I'm trying to think.
First of all, you were so explicit that there's almost nothing left to be said.
Just little small details, but I feel like the little details can make a big effect.
Oh, of course.
You know, I feel like, you know,
Yes.
so it's nice to pass on that. And I
Well.
just try to pass on what I learned from Mr. Balanchine, Mr. B.
Well, you're a dedicated teacher, as
Yeah.
you were a dedicated dancer.
Oh, I don't know. I love it.
Well, we loved watching
it's my
you.
life. It's very wonderful to do what you love to do, and I love passing on Balanchine's ballets.